Greetings, dear champions. I welcome you to Live with Chatufa. Wherever you are and wherever you are watching us from, we are very, very excited to have you on this platform, on this show, as we continue to talk about issues that are happening in our nation, as we continue to pray and believe God for the freedom of Zimbabwe. As economic woes continue to be deepening right inside Zimbabwe, BHP pulls out of Zimbabwe as economic meltdown persists. This really is a very, very sad development that we are seeing having happened in Zimbabwe. This really is an indication that all is not well in the nation, especially considering how the economy is failing, how Mnangagwa government has continued to be a catastrophic failure. We are seeing companies, huge companies that employed quite a lot of people leaving Zimbabwe, and this is really a bad, bad situation. It's never going to be, ever the same again. Martin Mataga reports here that BHP pulls out of Zimbabwe's largest BHP pulls out of Zimbabwe's largest platinum group metals (PGM) mining project, citing ongoing losses. With BHP gone, the venture hangs by a thread as the joint partners face a funding shortfall. So this is what is happening. BHP has been one of the great players in the Zimplants group, and they have been the platinum giant in Zimbabwe, especially in terms of employment. BHP was really employing quite a lot of people, and this was one of the companies that used to pay quite a lot. This was one of the companies that I still remember in the early 90s, somewhere there. Quite a lot of people were really fighting to leave companies like Zimasco, leave companies like Zisco, leave companies like Sebo Chemicals, and they wanted to go and work for BHP. Getting to work for BHP was actually a step upward to the workers during those days that I'm talking about, because this was a company that was paying amounts that were so huge. They could even pay almost like double what Sebo Chemicals would pay. So indeed, this is a great loss, a very big loss to Zimbabwe. Remember, just a few days ago, we were also talking about one of the major companies that have just also left. Olivine has also left. Quite a lot of other companies are leaving Zimbabwe, and this on its own is a great loss that we are looking at. And you'd find that most of these things that are happening in this economy are because of the mismanagement that we are seeing with the ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF does not care what is happening to the nation. We have seen Delta Corporation also as one of the greatest beverage makers in Zimbabwe, already declaring that they are not going to be taking, the ZiG anymore. They are just going to be taking the US dollar. And that on its own is, again, another challenge, because if this ZANU-PF government would want to continue forcing them to take the ZiG, it means they are forcing them to close down, because eventually they are not going to make profit out of the ZiG, especially considering that once you have the ZiG in your hand, you can't get US dollars or hard currencies again anywhere, because the Reserve Bank does not have. The black market right now has been seriously affected by ZANU-PF's interference in terms of how they are arresting people that are changing money and things like that. And yet they stop the black market as if they have an alternative. So we expected that ZANU-PF would stop the black market and then would direct people to say, okay, now you go to such and such a bank, and then you can go and buy the US dollars that are needed. So we have seen quite a lot of people that were changing money, as long as those that are just ordinary who wanted to just change little monies arrested by ZANU-PF, especially after the introduction of this ZiG, Mr. Strong ZiG. But now Mr. Strong ZiG now is laying down on his tummy. He's crumbled, he's crushed, and automatically this means that more hardship for Zimbabwe, more challenges for the Zimbabwean people, and this remains a very concerning issue. So the idea of seeing more and more companies pulling out of Zimbabwe really is nothing that we can ever celebrate, because it will be very difficult at times to bring these companies back, because once they relocate to countries that are really working and operating, it will be very difficult to convince them to come back to Zimbabwe, especially after what ZANU-PF is doing in Zimbabwe. They might take longer, or would rather, opt to say they want to watch first what is going to be happening in Zimbabwe before they finally decide to come back. And doing that is loss of, productivity or on the part of the country, and also loss of employment. Many people are going into the streets. Many people are getting unemployed, and it means the number of the unemployment rate continues to rise in Zimbabwe. I don't know whether Mnangagwa wants to see 100% people unemployed, because so far the people that are majority of the people that are employed in Zimbabwe are the civil servants. People that are employed by the government, and that is the problem. That is a problem. And considering those ones, they are also very lowly paid, and they actually, under the poverty that I'm line. That automatically means that we have the middle class destroyed. The middle class has been destroyed in Zimbabwe by this administration of Mnangagwa. Now, once the middle class is not operating, it means now there is a problem now with the upward movement and downward movement of cash, because the middle class operates as the bridge between the bourgeoisie and the peasants. So that on its own is a big problem that will continue to haunt Zimbabwe. So we are never going to recover economically as long as we have Emerson Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF at the helm of our country. This is why, family, as Zimbabwean people, we are saying, let's continue to rise and fight for change. Let's continue to pray for the nation. We want to see change happening. We want to see Zimbabwe being liberated. We want to see Zimbabwe beginning to work once again like any other countries that are surrounding us, where we are seeing their economies improving, the lives of their people improving, and people making progress in their personal lives and in the lives of their families. And that exactly is what we are also looking forward to. We are expecting to see that happening. So without ZANU-PF, that will be very, very easy to see. But with the ZANU-PF, I'm telling you, it may continue to just be a dream, and which will never come to pass. A dream that will never, ever manifest. So this is the problem that we have. So that's what it is. More and more companies are leaving Zimbabwe, and this is very, very unfortunate. When we lose BHP, we are actually getting down worse and worse. So this is what it is, family. Just giving you updates of what is happening in the nation. Let's continue to pray for the nation. Let's continue to believe God for the nation. Freedom of the Zimbabwean people is the solution. The removal of ZANU-PF from power is the only solution so far that we have. Otherwise, without that, Zimbabwe will remain going down. Thank you so much for joining me on this show. Continue to support this platform by subscribing, liking, and sharing, and also putting your comment. It's very, very important to hear what you think. What do you think about Zimbabwe when you see big companies that are employing numbers of people, big numbers, are also beginning to close down and leaving Zimbabwe? That's not a good thing at all. Thank you so much. Till we meet again, remain blessed.